Hello, my name is Chloe Tonis, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime, the podcast where we discuss cybercrimes and cybersecurity news. This week we will be talking about a phishing scam that disguises itself as a job offer for Crowdstrike, a cybersecurity company well known and renowned for its DDoS protection as well as its endpoint detection and response software. Job hiring scams are not all that uncommon, although usually it's a way to steal the identity of the hopeful new hire or siphon money from their bank account, or it's someone illegally attempting to outsource their job to you. But this case is not actually any of those at all. It's something pretty different. Scammers email people looking for jobs in technology, thanking them for their interest in applying for a developer role at Crowdstrike. It's pretty easy to gauge whether or not someone is looking for job opportunities, especially with LinkedIn. You can advertise you're looking, people can see basically your whole resume on there, so they can get the idea of the types of jobs you may apply for. This is not a bad thing, and it's intended for recruiters to be able to reach out to you for appropriate opportunities, and unfortunately, scammers will take advantage of this as well. The idea is that this email will hit enough people that did actually apply to be a developer at Crowdstrike, and for those people, it will seem pretty normal. So what is in the email itself? The email offers a 15-minute phone screening, pretty normal part of the recruitment process. I've gone through plenty of those, and also informs the applicant that their onboarding process is being streamlined by their new applicant CRM or Customer Relationship Management app, offering downloads for both Windows and Mac OS. I would find this a bit unusual, but not too surprising personally. Typically, I would not expect to be downloading software from a company I'm interested in applying to. Making an account for something like Workday, I guess I kind of get, or having to do a Zoom or Teams or WebEx interview. All pretty normal. Downloading software, I'm not so sure. And you can probably guess that this is not real CRM software, regardless of what your operating system is. It's a crypto miner. Well, technically, it's not a crypto miner. You actually download what is known as a dropper. A dropper is a type of malware that doesn't directly do any harm to your system. Rather, it's more like an accomplice for the actual malware, the driver going to a crime scene, and potentially leaving the crime scene, but the metaphor falls apart a bit there. A dropper's job is to download the real malware onto your machine after it is downloaded, and this is often so it can evade detection. In this fake Crowdstrike job offer scenario, once the dropper is downloaded on your computer, it checks a couple of things in order to avoid being detected by your antivirus. It checks the number of running processes and searches for anything antivirus, malware analysis, virtualization, or sandboxing. And it won't run if it's in a sandbox environment at all. A sandbox environment is a closed-off testing environment that isolates code, preventing it from actually affecting the PC itself outside of the confines of the sandbox. A lot of malware analysis is done in a sandbox or a dummy virtual machine, to avoid actually infecting the computer, but still allowing researchers to see how malware behaves. The malware also checks if any debuggers are running that may bring attention to its existence. After the dropper determines that it can run on your computer without you noticing and uninstalling it immediately, it throws a fake error message. The error message said that there's an error during the installation and to try running it on a different device, which, would also install the dropper and then a crypto miner there. The error also provides a support portal to contact with a web address, which is notably not a real Crowdstrike web address, it's a fake one, and an email as options for technical support. After this error message is displayed, it downloads a text file from the internet, which contains configuration information for XMRig, which is a crypto miner. The configuration file is there to set up the crypto miner using a script, rather than having a wizard run that the victim would obviously notice. The dropper then downloads XMRig itself, and then runs it with the configuration file, and it also creates a batch file set to run on startup, so that every time the victim turns their computer on, the miner is starting up and keeps on mining in the background. What makes this kind of hard for antivirus to detect is that XMRig is not malware. It's a legitimate crypto miner that some people use to mine cryptocurrency, so your antivirus doesn't see a problem with it existing inherently. The issue, of course, is that you did not install it, and you probably don't want a crypto miner that is rewarding someone else for using the resources that your computer has. Scenarios where things like crypto miners or usually other more benign applications are installed without permission are called PUPs, which stands for Potentially Unwanted Programs. PUPs are in a weird gray area between malware and not malware, and the difference is really intention. Did you actually install the crypto miner, or is someone else installing it for you and stealing what should be your well-earned Bitcoin? Crypto miners take up a lot of processing power, which is why people with large crypto farms don't just use a single regular computer, but often have a very large setup with multiple GPUs. And if it's consuming your processing power, that means you're not able to do as much with your machine. Crypto miners basically solve very, very complex puzzles, way more complex than what a human can reasonably solve, and are rewarded for solving those puzzles with a cryptocurrency. For the purposes of this episode, I am referring to the way Bitcoin mining works specifically, because I'm familiar with that. Some cryptocurrencies work in different ways. Bitcoin specifically is hard capped at 21 million coins. This is intentional and is built into the very code of Bitcoin in order to have some scarcity and to keep demand up. Other coins, like Doge, my notes say it's pronounced Doge, not dog or doggy, as I've heard some people say. If you're mad about that, take it up with the guy who invented it. Anyways, Doge is a meme coin, and there's an unlimited supply of it, unlike Bitcoin. So there really isn't any protection against inflation, and ultimately, Doge, from what I can tell, peaked at about 65 cents, crashed, and although it's gone sort of back up again, it hasn't really recovered, and it's likely never going to be treated as a legitimate currency. It's the same thing as the government just printing more money into circulation. It just doesn't have much value if there's no scarcity to it. The reason I bring this up is because as more bitcoins are mined, the puzzles get way harder to solve, and more computing power is needed, which is why these farms are so lucrative. Scammers creating a large botnet of computers that are just made to mine crypto and generate cash for them by using someone else's computer is a lot cheaper than buying hundreds or thousands of GPUs to set up an actual crypto farm. Though, well, it's not a legitimate method, obviously. So, what can you do to avoid people mining Bitcoin from your computer? If you get a job offer, take extra care to validate the sender. Make sure it's an actual Crowdstrike email reaching out, not some random person who set their name to Crowdstrike. If we're well past that, you'll probably notice performance issues with your computer. Task Manager can be used to see what apps are using what resources on your device. If you see an app you don't recognize using quite a lot of resources, you should probably uninstall it and start looking for other indicators of compromise that you may need to get rid of. Crowdstrike on their website has posted the indicators of compromise, which are file hashes and domain names, that you should look out for on your device if you suspect there's a malware infection. Uninstalling XMRig is going to have to be done manually, most likely, as your antivirus may or may not recognize it. If it does, great, uninstall it. If it doesn't, you can uninstall it yourself. Thank you to Crowdstrike for being open about this incident, as well as the Hacker News and Bleeping Computer for reporting on it. And of course, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime. My name is Chloe Tonis, and until next time, stay secure.